What's going on, everybody? Great morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. Yeah, faces everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Glad you're here right now as we get ready to go over everything together. Thank you so much, Simon. I'm glad to be here with you. I take it very serious to be your a little bit of a shepherd here, and it's very important to me. So glad we're all together. Equity markets are closed. I'm still going to be looking at them. I'm making sure that I'm in the flow. We're going to be looking at the indexes. That's not, I guess, our first priority though. Over here we had Giles looking at copper. We'll look at that. I want to be focusing obviously on the market that matters. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of crypto over here, gold and silver. I'm going to talk about the dollar. I'm going to talk about the dollar in relation to Bitcoin, right? But the dollar right now, the dollar's not rising here. The dollar's coming. We'll look at the dollar also. We'll get into that as well. If you didn't see this video over here over the weekend, it was posted last night, which is an unusual time for me to post a video, but I think it is one that adds a lot to the Bitcoin playlist in its, constant, flow. Just like the markets are ever evolving, the Bitcoin playlist is kind of just keeping myself really in the rhythm of this current cycle. And I think it's a fantastic job. So that video you could watch if you haven't seen that after this live stream over here, but we're going to talk about different stuff during this live stream over here. And is it a little bit of a holiday? A little bit. FX is open. Crypto's open, right? US equity markets, I mean, gaps, closures, weird, right? Maybe that's just me. Absolutely. I tried to do on Twitter also a couple of updates using the 2-hour time frame over here just to give you that little bit of insight over the weekend. Just make sure that I stayed with you all. Yeah. So George, thank you. Not only George. I mean, I woke up this morning. I think I was up at like 5:30 in the morning. By like 5:45, I'm like blocking all these scammers on YouTube who are like trying to like take advantage of people, right? So if you wanna kind of make any type of relation to, for example, Twitter banning someone or people or many people, many accounts, or like us, when someone like is impersonating myself and puts out, once you're impersonating someone at that point, I'm sorry, you can't, you're a spammer, you're a scammer. Anyway, that's amazing that it even needs to be said. But today you can't have a conversation without it being political. Everyone is so emotionally tied to everything that anytime you mention like the sky is blue, all of a sudden it's political. Really weird. Anyway, I digress. Let's get over here. If you're just joining, please smash the like button. I'm glad we're here together on Martin Luther King Day, the good doctor. I grew up at a group home, and the priest who's my father, I consider him my dad. Martin Luther King was really an influence on him and why he became a priest in the first place, right? He wanted to go to Africa and help fight poverty over there. People seem to have a problem using the word poverty and poor. I don't understand that. Trying to help end poverty, that's a great thing. There's only good connotations with that. Period. The end. And the poor, there's nothing derogatory about being poor. That's terrible. We need to help them. So anyway, how you frame everything is very important over here. Looking at Bitcoin now, let's take a look on the 8-hour really quick. I want to talk about a lot this morning, and I want to start with Bitcoin and make that a little bit of fun for us here as we get going. I'll end up going through all of the FX markets for sure, but I'm going to take my time and just enjoy this session over here. We'll look at the indexes as well, right? We'll do it all. Yeah, so here we go. Bitcoin on the 8-hour here. Everyone should be able to see that we are currently right here consolidating in this triangle pattern over here. Trend line going back all the way to the middle towards the end of December up until today is providing the support over here of this triangle. The resistance line is clean as well, and we're currently almost dead center in the middle of that, right? You can see the 8-hour, it started making higher highs over here last session. Over the weekend, it was a bit of back and forth. I was trying to get everyone to focus on the 2-hour so that they could see what's happening day by day. Just made sure that I was with you when I can be. Here, right now, this is the play. Once we start getting above this trend line over here, it looks like we have some nice potential price discovery taking us into new all-time highs. In this video over here, and I do recommend it over here, when do I think that Bitcoin price discovery returns? gets really into what comparing the first cycle and the last cycle and average of them two and showing where we are right now, 251 days since the halving. Really neat that once we get to about, let's say, where was it over here? Somewhere around over here at 200, we're at 251. So I don't know if that's like 270, right? 20 days from now. It seems to be a good period of straight up in the last two cycles. We'll see if that continues. Bitcoin dipped over here where this was when we had a 39% drawdown over here on the Bitcoin price after the halving. Bitcoin again in the first cycle in that period drew down, and now again in the third. So that's stuff that we need to pay attention to. But that video, good one. What's next? Clearly, we're looking for a breakout over here to the upside. If and when that happens, that should when Bitcoin starts taking off. Always being aware of our downside risk. What happens if we lose this trend line over here? What are we looking at, right? Really clearly, first we have this trend line over here coming in at a little above $30,000. That's an important one. That could hold. It's possible that you break outside this trend line and then hold down over here in this support. And then you would have more of a descending triangle forming over here on Bitcoin at that point. And we would just readjust to it. But more importantly, it's this trend line. Once this trend line breaks, that's when the upside starts. Now, if we lose that area of support, right, we got bigger support over here, or just above 28,000, just below 28,000, right, and then down over here, 24,000. Now, although those are possible, and if anything happened and we started all of a sudden dumping, like anything could happen, right? Maybe the internet goes out in all of Asia. I don't know, something crazy, and Bitcoin all of a sudden sells off hard on that. Are we seeing any dollar liquidity crises? None at all. On the opposite, we're seeing an overflow of dollars in the system. But the DXY is rising. Oh yeah? Let's look at the DXY and how that affects Bitcoin, and we'll talk about what could possibly be going on over there. And a really, 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 really interesting insight that was shared with me last week. I'm going to talk about that in 1 second. But first, let's focus in on the DXY. DXY, people are worried that it is rising, and all of a sudden it's going to start causing trouble for Bitcoin. Okay, that's all right. It's a valid concern, and we need to talk about it. Let's talk about it. Before we get into that, let's talk about really just the DXY currently. Ever since the Fed acted, ever since the Federal Reserve started printing, expanding their balance sheet, $4.1 trillion, the dollar has been wrecked, right? Clear intervention here, clear downtrend. Are you seeing a bottom here, right? Human mind is wired always to be looking for those bottoms. But everyone, Jordan, is short dollars. All right. So that means that how long has everyone been long tech, right? How long has everyone been long the S&P 500? So anyway, by the way, it's so early in Bitcoin. It's ridiculous. I don't know if I have it up here. If I do, I hope. Hold on. Yeah. Oh, it's so early in Bitcoin. This comment over here this morning saying, look, Michael Saylor invested $1.3 billion, right? I wonder why that price of Bitcoin would be if he'd really invested that amount. Oh, $1.3 trillion. I thought he was saying 1.3 billion and was skeptical about whether or not that could happen. My bad on that. Yeah, if I don't know about $1.3 trillion in the Bitcoin. The market is, what is the market cap of Bitcoin? We're still under $1 trillion, but we're getting there. Almost $1 trillion market. And will it be in first quarter 2021? It becomes $1 trillion market? Good chance of that. Really, really strong chance of that. That's a huge milestone. I started watching the Real Vision Raoul Pal interview of Anthony Pompliano yesterday. Got about a little more than halfway through it, and I highly recommend it to everyone. Anthony Pompliano, really amazing stuff. Do watch that and listen to that. Now, as we're coming into over here on the DXY, everyone saw the Bitcoin video we put out on the channel. By the way, 71,000 subscribers. Huge deal, everyone. Thank you about that. I really appreciate sharing in this with you all. Over here, this was the last video of the new year over here, accelerating. And then I put out over here King Dollar, right? I'm going to go ahead and actually share this link later with you all because this talks about the dollar, the DXY, and gives a really clear explanation of what we're looking at over here on the bigger picture. This upward sloping channel over here broke down, and now we're just coming in for the retest. And I said, look, it's possible we even trade all the way down to this support and then come into that retest. But this is something that is not. This is something we were expecting and talked about. This isn't new to us, right? So like, is the dollar strengthening, or are we seeing a breakdown and now looking for that retest and then resumption down and seeing in 2021 the dollar sold hard? Well, that's what it looks like that's happening, because we're in a very big downtrend, and then we've broken out of a very important technical pattern, or just coming in for that retest. Now, if we get back into this channel over here, yeah, that's a changer. And then if we get above 92.22, all right, we're back into this channel. We could test the upper resistance easily, and then we'd reevaluate. But we're below it now. This is very bearish. It's a Bitcoin story. It's not a dollar story. It's a Bitcoin story, first quarter 2021. But that's also something that way ahead of time we said would be the case, right? That Bitcoin would break all correlations. People used to be worried about the stock market and Bitcoin, and now they see that, like, well, Bitcoin. By the way, Bitcoin at $36,000 this morning. It feels a little bit normal. Are we ready to go up now? You know, if you would have said to someone just 2 months ago, hey, Bitcoin will be trading at $37,000 in 2 months, they would be like, the halving's not priced in. But now they'd be like, oh yeah, you know, and it's normal. So here we go. What's going on next? So this is over here. The question is, what did the DXY look like during the last 2 Bitcoin cycles? We're often looking at cycles, right? The question is, well, Bitcoin is traded in dollars, right? We know that the dollar could strengthen versus all other fiat currencies and even commodities, and that Bitcoin could rise with the strong dollar and be stronger than the dollar. But we also know that if the dollar is weaker, that's going to help Bitcoin, right? Because if the dollar is weaker and Bitcoin's strong at this point in the cycle, then all of a sudden you're looking at Bitcoin being even stronger than it would be, right? So in this first cycle, it's not really a question. This was brought to my attention, and I can't find exactly. It was through a private message. I can't find exactly the message. I have quite a few messages, direct messages on Twitter, and I can't even read them all. It's not possible. So one of them could be a response to my reply to him, thanking him for this insight and this work. And I wish to give the credit where the credit's due, always. But by the way, could you smash the like button here if you're just joining us here on this Monday, Martin Luther King Day? Because we got a smaller crowd in here for the holiday. So let's get this going over here this morning, because it's a session 20 minutes in that I'm enjoying. Over here during the first cycle of Bitcoin, right? What was going on with the Fed? The Fed had just started QE, the third round of QE. Over here, you could see that the Fed in 2012, they started their third round of QE, right? So amazing. And Bitcoin, you could see over here, was flying during that situation. So when did the Fed start tightening? You'll remember what happened after that is that the Fed, they started tightening in 2017. 2017, is that correct? Yeah, October of 2017 means they started pulling liquidity from the system. They started pulling liquidity from the system because since 2008, they had been just pumping money into the system. And they said, you know what? This is not sustainable. We need now to exit. It took them 10 years. It took them 9 years to begin their exit, right? And then they start pulling money away. And what happened? Well, they started raising rates, right? And they started raising rates. And then it was December of 2018 and they raised rates again. And I remember that day, Paul Tudor Jones was like, they just made a mistake. They will never, well, when we say never, I mean for an extended period of time, be able to raise rates again. And they're going to have to start lowering them now. That was December of 2018, 1 year later. That was actually, that probably would have been one of the greatest trades over there. Anyway, he was deadly correct. At the day he did that, I remember remarking to everyone about what was going on, what had happened, and the significance of it. That happened to be the bottom of Bitcoin during its cycle anyway. I digress. That's not important. What is important is that in this cycle over here, in 2017, the Fed started tightening towards the top. Okay, you could see that the first cycle was still under much more favorable conditions than the second. However, and you also, when they started tightening and raising rates, that's what caused the problem in the repo market starting in September of 2019. It was in March of 2020 when the system basically reached a tipping point because of the Fed's continued repo action from the Fed tightening from their QE and raising rates. The Fed knows they can never do that again unless they're trying to actually crash the economy. But the Fed cannot tighten. That's why right now, when the Fed starts talking about, is the Fed like thinking of stopping QE purchases early, and they start this discussion of Fed tightening, and then the market like reacts because we had a taper tantrum the last time the Fed tried to taper, if you remember what happened in the markets. So everyone gets a little worried, but then the Fed, Jerome Powell was like, no, we can't even begin to think having that conversation right now or for a while, and they'll never be able to have it because as you could see, everything's in trouble, and all that means is that more money is going to be printed and that taxes are going to go up. That's the next phase. It's just continued money printing, taxes going up. We're not seeing any signs of any dollar liquidity or strength, right? What we are seeing though is a cycle that's really helpful for Bitcoin over here, and that's why you're seeing under these easy conditions Bitcoin mirroring more of cycle 1 than of cycle 3. Boom, 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 boom. Jordan, why don't you take a look at the price action from 2010? Well, I have done that. If you've seen the video over here, also, if you saw the video when I talked about the last two videos over here, the super cycle and the accelerating, I am looking very much at price action early on. So, but right now I'm not going back to when I do look at the price action back in 2010, I'm using the Brave New World Bitcoin charts, which has the data that goes all the way back. So if I'm interested in seeing what's going on back there, then I have to use a different data feed. So that's that. What do you think of that? Greg, I'm so glad I saw their comment. I really do get to see the comments over here when I'm focused on what's going on over there. But I'm glad that you asked Sarah to join us over here. That's really awesome. Thanks, Greg. And please, anyone, really, if there's anyone that you think would benefit, I have all my friends listening to this now, and I didn't ask them but they kind of just have been and started listening to it. But if you have someone that you think would really like add to our community, whether they could join us live or they're watching the replay, do share that with them. That's awesome. So what are we looking at over here on Ethereum? This is Ethereum Bitcoin. I'm glad I jumped over to this, and this looks like this is set up again. We were talking about this last week, first of all, right? We were watching it off down over here, and then as price came up here, came above here, I said now we're waiting for us to come back, confirm that broken resistance. I said I'm already going to flip it to green. And then that's what we're looking for the next entry. So over here is the time to be watching Ethereum Bitcoin right now, right? Waiting for that higher high for price to confirm itself. Stop loss, it's great. You know where to cap your stop at over here. Either you're going to go ahead and get the momentum over here as we broke out of this trend line over here after this breakout from all-time high, right? Breakout, retest, resumption. Now above the next resistance, swing high. We need to take out a swing high here if this is continuing to going up. We take out this swing high over here now on this resumption. You got a very strong and powerful market. That's why, in my opinion, it's a good thing. It's a good trade to consider and look at. Ethereum, US dollar, you can see it consolidating so well below this resistance right over here right now, right? We all know above that resistance, Ethereum gets to enter price discovery, right? The all-time high is what on Ethereum? It's not too far off this high over here in January of 2021. Let me take a look over there. Got an all-time high over there on this data feed, which is Bitstamp, is showing an all-time high of $1,420. So very, very close. Next leg up should bring Ethereum into price discovery, making new all-time highs. And where it goes from there, if you're not looking at what? On Bitcoin right now, $36,000. Are we looking at a 5x on Bitcoin? Or are we looking at a 10x on Bitcoin? Now, a 5x or a 7, 8x, right? That's reasonable. Is Ethereum going to do the same thing or more? That's the question. But either way, they're both still, in my opinion, looking very, 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 very affordable down over here. As alt season gets going, what else is going on? I want to take a look at Litecoin finally. Litecoin finally coming up out of that next bit of resistance, making that leg up. Still hasn't taken out that higher high, last swing high yet. Just like Ethereum, Ethereum Bitcoin, we're looking for it to trade above that last swing high over here. Litecoin at the same time made that lower swing low over there. What else? Chainlink, holding on to Chainlink also on this Litecoin. Let me come over to Chainlink. Had some really, really nice gains over the weekend, trading high as $24 over there, new all-time highs. You can see it now coming back also. This is beautiful. You see that last bit of resistance coming back into it, consolidating now, seeing if it also will start putting in a further leg up. You could probably put a trend line over here to know when this is like cooling off, right? Break below that over here, and then all of a sudden maybe you want to, back off over here, wait for us to come back down, maybe into a bigger support level, test that $18 area over there. What happened to DOT? That was flying over the weekend. Let me come back and step out over here. I know that Alan was one of the first to bring this one up, showing this this chart over here, showing from this trend line break over here, and you can see that trend line break, retest, resumption up. What's happening over here? This resistance right over there, right, is where we spiked into, and now we're just consolidating. Right, it looks great. That's exactly what we see. We looked at this on no, it was the video I did. The video I did on Saturday really looked at all this occurring. It showed it occurring on different cryptocurrency pairs, and this pattern that you see over here of these big moves up, consolidation, and then followed by next big move up over there. What else? We saw that Giles was looking at copper this morning over here. He's asking if that was a conquering the market setup over here. Copper over here. Look at this. I mean, this trend line that you saw me add in this morning as we were getting started over there. Very important over here. You can see that copper came in and tested it, and then resuming up right here. And yeah, that's a beautiful entry. Definitely beautiful entry over there. You know where you want to get out of this trade if prices to turn around. Looking over here, as we're going to be talking about, right? That $1.9 trillion stimulus package was floated over there. What happens? What happens when you get all those dollars floating back into the system over there? We just had $600 sent out a couple of weeks ago, and now we're looking at another $1,400. That money is anyway. So good time to be looking at this. Absolutely. What about on nickel? Let's take a look at nickel over here. Nickel continues to be below. This is starting to look very good over here. It's like knocking on this resistance over here that we've been watching for a while, right? Boom, boom, boom. Can't stay up here. All these wicks over here is having trouble, right? But it's still knocking and knocking right now. You could see it as soon as we clear above there, that opens up the next leg. Now, at the same time, is it possible that like after all this knocking and there's no buyers? If there's no buyers up here, then price is going to fall, right? And it's going to fall back. And if it falls back into this trend line over here, this trend line support, somewhere around $1,200, that would be a strong opportunity. It's strong support right now over there. And the further this consolidates, the more of a move upwards that it has. So let's look at the indexes really quick. This is the S&P 500. Markets are closed today. U.S. stock markets are closed today in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King, right? And I wonder what Dr. Martin Luther King, who's an icon, right? Dr. Martin Luther King, what he would be thinking about the current situation in the United States today. And would he even have a voice today? Or would he be silenced? It's interesting to think about. I like thinking about lots of different things all the time, And there's no resistance, when we break to all new times, when we break to new all-time highs on Bitcoin, you're not looking for the next resistance right now. You're looking for price to appreciate, right? You're not looking for a resistance. You're looking for a price at this point to continue to appreciate. So what else are we looking at over here? I think we had Pi cycle, by the way, it's pretty close to a cross. Are you going to get out early if it crosses? I'll come back over to the market since they're closed. When you look at the Pi indicator, the Pi cycle indicator, you have to look at it on the daily time frame. Now, there are people who probably could build their own Pi cycle indicator. I prefer to support looking to Bitcoin because I really support their work, right? And you know that the R-Hodl ratio, I've talked about that also recently on the Bitcoin playlist. We'll also be using this to help us get out over here at the right time on the exit. And would I exit, right, without this also showing criteria? I mean, it's way too early to think about exiting on this cycle, but the Pi cycle is not even close to a cross. The Pi cycle won't be crossed until Bitcoin's going vertical with a blow off top. then the pi cycle you'll see the yellow line coming up on the green line, getting ready to cross it. We're not even close to that happening right now. All right, what else? Silver, right? Silver and gold I didn't take a look at. But before we do, let me finish over here what's going on. S&P 500, equity markets, where they're going to open up, when the futures get set to open up this afternoon. I have no idea. If crypto is any indication, right? We're seeing Bitcoin, Ethereum bid after a run this weekend by a lot of altcoins, including Chainlink, including DOT. Really, really two of the big beneficiaries over there. So we'll pick that up this afternoon. Maybe I'll do an afternoon video a little later. I'm not really sure. Maybe I won't even do one then. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Let's get back into it over here. Let's start going into FX over here after gold and silver. This is gold. I'm going to step back over here, right? Stepping back over here, and you can see this trend line. Again, we all know this is the bull flag, waiting and watching in gold, holding this area of support. I am super, super bullish on the precious metals, but really they're just not interesting right now at this point when we talk about what's going on with Bitcoin. I'm going to keep tracking them. I could have really imagined myself taking a position as I exit the precious metals. I mean, as I exit Bitcoin. But the question is I heard Max Kaiser say recently that he's tried to actually sell some of his gold and silver that's held in a vaults. And I've never tried myself. And he said that it's not so easy. So that's interesting, right? Because it's really easy to get in and out of Bitcoin. Really easy to get in and out of Bitcoin. But doing that on gold and silver, on the physical stuff, like I never really bought it or purchased it with the intention of selling it. It was always with holding it. Interesting to know that it's difficult to get out of. So that just makes the case further for Bitcoin completely. What about Robinhood and trading Bitcoin? Listen, that if you're looking to trade in and out of it, it's no different than trading stocks on Robinhood. You don't really own the stock that you're trading on Robinhood. If you think that you own it, you just don't. It's the same thing with Bitcoin on Robinhood. You don't own the Bitcoin. But if you're just trading the market, okay. But if you understand Bitcoin, I think that you want to own Bitcoin, right? If you understand Bitcoin, and if you don't understand why you want to own Bitcoin, then you need to do a little bit more research on Bitcoin to understand why you'd want to own it and not on Robinhood. All right. I have no idea. I'm not familiar. I watched one of Steven's videos last year around the time the Fed started printing the $4.1 trillion. And he was talking about how this was going to be so deflationary. And that was the last video I watched because obviously that was way counter to my whole perception of what was happening, right? That was just completely contrary. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I really don't need to listen to anything else. And there we are with that. So, yeah, there's a new fund. Jimmy Doe's asking about GBTC and there's any insight into any competition coming out. And there's a new fund being launched. I don't remember the name. I mentioned it last week. Fidelity is going to be holding the custody of that. I don't know the ticker yet either, but you could just Google Bitcoin fund Fidelity custody and probably get the name of that. But that's going to bring down the premium in GBTC also. And it's not just that. There will be others. There will be other funds that are launched until an ETF is ultimately launched. And when an ETF is launched, obviously, and there's going to be many ETFs launched, right? At that point, you'll see GBTC's premium come way down. All right. What else we got going on over here? I got physical and allocated vault silver. It's hard to sell the physical quick in the UK. Vaulted is quicker to sell. Thanks, Paul. That's a really that's a pro tip right there. I'm glad to know that. And then, so that's interesting thought though. And if you heard Michael Seiler talk about, really real estate, Bitcoin, and gold, and talk about if you were to hold gold for over 100 years, probably you wouldn't own it anymore, because this was the interview he did on Real Vision also, and he basically convinced Raoul Pal that gold is just, he got out of his gold and silver, Raul, right? I haven't sold mine because it's kind of insignificant. It doesn't really, it does. I don't need to. And you know, even if I pass that on to the next generations without ever moving it, that's fantastic. I don't. That's fine. I don't need it. You know, with Bitcoin, it's nice to know that it's easier to get in and out. I think it's a big, huge advantage over there as the gold 2.0 narrative continues. It's a real thing, right? So Ethereum's looking very bullish. We already looked at that over there. Let's keep going over here. So that was the whole tangent, was because we're looking at gold here and we're looking at silver. If we were looking to trade them, there's no momentum right now. Price is falling, waiting for it to break above that trend line, waiting for that momentum to kick back in. If it does, I think that gold could, when it does, I think that gold is going to really start making new all-time highs in 2021 over here, because it's going to be a question, right, of the dollar devaluing and all fiat devaluing. That is one thing that is clear, that the value, the purchasing power of fiat continues to dwindle. Now over here, you're looking at silver, same thing. I mean, it looks so bullish. The question is, do you want to trade this right now and get into it? And when I say it's so bullish, right, you can see over here that we had the breakout, retest, resumption. Just pull back into some support right over here. That's all. It looks so good over here. As you get back above 26, that's probably when the momentum will be kicking in, above 26. And that's probably when, if you're interested in taking some trades, you'll want to look at it. But just not right now. I don't see it, right? What else we got going in here? 1,400 people. That's a lot for a holiday. Glad to be here with everyone together. We looked at Bitcoin over here earlier, right? And you can see that it's consolidating here right now into that resistance in this beautiful bull flag that's developing. You can see it happening over here, over here. If you break out of this trend line and above that resistance over here to the upside, you should see another leg on DOT. Let me come back over here. I mean, what are you targeting? Are you targeting new all-time highs on DOT over here, right? Or not? Do you not think that during alt season over here? And yes, alt season has begun, right? People like, oh, there's always like people like arguing. There's always people arguing. Alt season has begun, right? Right now, obviously, the projects that warrant to be appreciating versus Bitcoin are appreciating versus Bitcoin, right? And all the coins that have no purpose, it's a market. It's literally a market, right? So things that have purpose and value and future potential are going to actually appreciate, and then others that don't, just because like some like scam coin is not appreciating doesn't mean that it's not alt season. Watch what's happening. The market's closed because it's Martin Luther King's holiday over here in the, you know, and it's a beautiful thing. If you're not familiar with Dr. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, you know, is a legend and legendary, and someone that was really, really great for humanity. So what else are we looking at over here? Let's take a look at FX and see what is going on over here. Well, how many 566 likes. Thanks everyone for supporting me, for supporting the channel. It's by far the best community ever. 71,000, little over a year. Really, really grateful for all the relationships, all the friendships that this has bought. I wanted to look over here though. What else did I want to look at over here? The charts. Let's get to it. Thanks, Gene. Was Bitcoin's pump just a fake out? Yeah. Oh boy. Let's keep going. Let's start looking at FX. Let's see what's going on today. We're going to focus in on the dollar right now to begin, and notice that the dollar, right? Dollar, you can see it coming over here, that last resistance over there on Friday. Going to go ahead and move that up, turn that into above support over here, and notice that we're in this area over here, right? We could top out around 91. There's a light resistance over there, but we're targeting this trend line over here. That would not be abnormal. If we do not test this trend line, that's even further bearish here for the dollar. And once we start making new lower lows, it's a question of looking to test that January low over there. Again, things don't go straight down or straight up. Dollar looking very bearish. However, because it is looking bearish and because we're pulling back into resistance right in this area, I'm going to look for potential setups against the dollar, because the dollar has finally pulled back into resistance over here. I'm expecting or looking for the dollar to resume back downward. So let's look at that. Let's look at the Australian dollar, US dollar. We'll start there. Then we'll move over to the euro, US dollar, pound, US dollar. So Australian dollar, US dollar has broken below that little trendline support over there. That is very bearish here, right? Not looking to go long against the dollar if the dollar is able to turn over here just yet. It would have to get back above that resistance. I would not be surprised to see this resume back down now and come back down lower towards even perhaps this trend line over here. So that's not something that's attractive right now. Is there something that euro US dollar? I mean, we watched this one over here. It's a little ahead of the Australian dollar, but also this is not yet attractive. It's kind of in no man's land. Light support right here in no man's land between this support and that resistance. Which way it goes from here, I have no idea. Zero edge on the dollar. What about on the pound US dollar? The pound has been pretty strong. You could see it into support over here, right? Holding up the best so far between the Australian dollar and the euro. The pound against the US dollar looks to be showing the most strength, being repriced ever since the Brexit deal. I like that because it was, you know, as Alan said, very informed over there in local situation that it was kind of like a very, very, very hard deal. So we'll call it the Brexit deal. Over here, you could see that we're into that support over there, resuming off there. Very, very, very bullish, right? That's something that I would be interested in probably taking along here. If the dollar is going to weaken from where it currently is and resume down its downtrend, pound US dollar, I think, would be the greatest beneficiary, testing this little bit of local resistance for a good move. What about the New Zealand dollar, US dollar? New Zealand dollar has been pretty strong relatively this past year. Is that actually a downward sloping wedge over here? Let's see over here, like that. And then are we looking at that? Or is it more like that? Either which way, definitely looks like a downward sloping wedge. I would wait, though, for it to break the outer trend line over there. I wouldn't be buying off support right now over here as the dollar is kind of 50-50. The dollar could go either way from here. So pound US dollar looks the most attractive. The US dollar, Canadian dollar is caught between these trend lines over here. So that's resistance and support. There's no edge at this moment. And that's kind of a theme that I'm seeing across the US dollar right now, that it's not offering any type of edge with the exception of the pound US dollar. What's going on with the Japanese yen? So we'll start with the US dollar, Japanese yen. And I see that's also, you know, caught between support and resistance of these trend lines. All again, not yet offering an edge. It's coming to an inflection point where it looks like the US dollar, Japanese yen might actually see a big move. All right. So whether that it winds up breaking ultimately through the top of this trend line, we see further dollar strength, right? That would be the DXY, the dollar actually regaining the trend line. If the dollar regained this resistance here, this channel came back into it, we might see the US dollar really start appreciating versus the Japanese yen. But right now we're into resistance, right? This is all resistance. And if we're rejected, that's when we see the next leg down that could test that yearly low over there and even targeting 100. The Bank of Japan, or the Prime Minister of Japan said that they will defend the 100 level on the US dollar, Japanese yen. Is the market going to be attracted to that to see if there is any intervention or it just continues to be verbal intervention? We'll check the euro British pound after we finish the Japanese yen pairs. Here's the pound Japanese yen. Pound acting the strongest versus the dollar. Is it also acting the strongest versus the Japanese yen? You could also see it pulled back into this area of support over here right now. So that's interesting. That's definitely also something to watch over here going in overnight during the London session. What about the New Zealand dollar, Japanese yen? You could see that also coming down into some nice strong support over here. This is also very much worth watching later on. And that is a theme that I'm seeing here, perhaps. So euro, Japanese yen, you could see that we've broken out of this megaphone over here, but into the area of support. You could see that strong support right over there. So that's interesting for the euro, Japanese yen. Why it's interesting? Because it's the weakest. You know, the Japanese yen is the strongest versus the weakest out of anything we looked at. Like, so if we see a move back and to test that broken support over here, and that holds as resistance over there, a resumption off there, that would be a good place to attack the euro Japanese yen to the downside. So notice that on the euro Japanese yen, I was looking for potential setups to sell against it. why on the New Zealand dollar and Japanese yen is still looking to potentially buy against it. So that's both ends in play over there as we're at this possible inflection point in the markets. The Canadian dollar, Japanese yen, which was held by the resistance over there, is now being rejected by that resistance over there. You can see the Canadian dollar is also weak versus the Japanese yen. This is something that could be sold right now. You could look to sell the Japanese yen against the sell the Canadian dollar versus the Japanese yen. But it's not green flagged for me. I don't see it right there. So this is holding this area. Let me go ahead and clean that up. This is the Australian dollar, Japanese yen. You can see that trend line is currently on the verge of falling, but currently holding over there. If that holds that support, is that a place to look to buy it? It's definitely something to consider. Lots of setups coming in here. Lots of waves to consider. Euro, Japanese yen, the Euro British pound, excuse me, ever since breaking down outside of that lower trend line. What's happened? It's ugly, right? But you can see that it came back in, tested that resistance, and looks like it's trying to resume down right now. I see the euro weak. I see a weak euro versus relatively to everything else. Now's the time, in my opinion, you want to be looking to attack against the euro. You saw that playing out on the Japanese yen, right? It's the weakest out of everything we looked at. That's why I said maybe attacking it to the downside coming up. Maybe you want to attack it versus the pound as well. The pound has been appreciating over these past couple of weeks ever since the new year. So those are things to consider. You want to go where there's strength versus weakness. That's what you're looking for. That's why you go through all these different currency pairs until you find out where you want to focus your efforts. The way that I do that is start flagging what I see is potentially a setup for the overnight going into tomorrow's London. And then I'll review them in the evening, and those are the orders that I'm looking to place. Almost 700 likes. We almost have 700 likes. Pretty good session, I would have to say. No, sincerely, I am grateful for each and every one of you to share in this thing that we have here together. That's why here, no matter what, I'm on a Monday. That's fine. Equity markets are closed. It's a light day. I want to be here with you. Going over the markets, someone was like, I did a video over the weekend. They're like, oh, working on the weekend. It's not work. It's my lifestyle. And it's a passion, and I love it. So, what else? We looked at the Euro-US dollar already. Euro-US dollar. We'll look at it though since we're doing the Euro pairs right now, and we'll look at the Euro-Australian dollar. But you can see that we've already we looked at this last week as it was breaking that trend line, and then we looked for that retest and resumption off. Like we were doing that last week. Now that trade is currently like stop at break even, and you're looking to push this down further into this area of support. So what else? I want to see the euro in relation to the Australian dollar, and you can see that this is interesting too. This is just this downward sloping channel. It looks like it's thinning. You're into resistance right now. Both weak. When it's already split from we're seeing it split over here. If you just go back really quick, the best way to look at and answer that question is to look at Ethereum versus Bitcoin. And you can see over here, after finally breaking this trend line, it's now doing its business over here. Are we going to start seeing some dot type action occurring on Ethereum Bitcoin right now? When I say dot like action, after breaking that trend line in a short time, right? In just a week, this is a week here, 2 weeks, in 2.5 weeks, it's really almost testing the all-time high. And you can see on Ethereum Bitcoin, after doing the same thing, it hasn't even gotten started yet, right? Are we going to see a massive move on Ethereum Bitcoin? I mean, that's the play. That's what I think is going to happen. That's what I always thought is going to happen. Nevertheless, for me, the trade is Bitcoin, right? But over here, Ethereum Bitcoin, this is what I've been talking about. This is what I expect. And we're here to watch it as it unfolds together. You can see on the 8-hour also, Ethereum over here is really just knocking on the door. It's knocking on the door. Bitcoin back a little bit. Bitcoin back from its all-time high a little further than Ethereum. You can see Ethereum really doing its thing. As it's been ever since, 2021, Ethereum's like, this is going to be my year. Boom, watch me now. And it's exciting. 1,000, that would be absolute fire, especially for a holiday over there. Cardano, we didn't look at. Let's look at Cardano over here. Boom. Look, I mean, so like people are like, oh no, it's not alt season. I mean, where are you looking? What are you watching? Right? But watch over here, Ethereum. Ethereum. This is versus the US dollar, by the way, though. Look at this, just making leg up after breaking that trend line. The trend line breaks, so important. Breakout, retest, resumption, consolidate, leg up, consolidating, looking for the next leg up. I want to see it versus Bitcoin. Let's take a look over here and see what we got going on. And again, everyone's familiar with these. How does this look? This looks like this, by the way. This looks like this trend line. And you could see breakout, retest, failure. Boom. Finally broke out again, took out that local high. After taking out that local high, coming into the resistance, retesting it. This move is enormous to the downside over here. Enormous, right? You always have to have your stop losses in. And then since then, resuming up, now making new swing highs over here. Look what the resistance is right down over here. It's just super, super, super bullish versus Bitcoin. This is when alt season began. It was on these trend line breaks from the all-time high. So this is when alt season began. You could see it on Bitcoin. This is when alt season began. What else? Let's look at Litecoin versus Bitcoin. So Litecoin versus Bitcoin. Where do we put this trend line? Is Litecoin, has it done it? Right there, right? Yeah. Is the Litecoin just beginning to break out versus Bitcoin? Are we going to see Litecoin? I think we're going to see them. Any alt that warrants it is gonna appreciate versus Bitcoin during this cycle, because it's all about speculation. And right now, everyone thinks Bitcoin's expensive. Right? And if you understand that Bitcoin's not expensive and that Bitcoin is cheap right over here, well, then you're way ahead of almost everybody. So that's a good place to be. But people are learning. It's much different atmosphere than it was even just 2 years ago, right? So everyone now wants to own Bitcoin. Everyone now understands Bitcoin. By the way, Anthony Papalano on that interview with Raoul Pal on Real Vision, he said that, listen, the one thing that he really thinks that most other people do not think is that he sincerely believes that Bitcoin is going to be the next reserve currency. So think about that. I mean, just think about that. You have to at least consider it, I suppose. I really don't think that Bitcoin has the potential not the potential, that Bitcoin, the probability of Bitcoin becoming the reserve currency, I think is very low. I think it's like 5 to 7%, right? But there's a chance that it could. There is a 5 to 7% chance that it could. Yeah, that's, usurping the central bank monetary system and the amount of power that's entrenched into it. That's no small feat. That would be an extraordinary thing. Extraordinary things happen, though. I think it's a very small chance that it could happen. Is it growing every day? Yeah, by a little bit. Does growth become sometimes exponential? Yeah, exponential growth is pretty powerful. You can't argue that Bitcoin's growth hasn't been exponential. So could it ever become the reserve currency? I mean, and what would that mean? And how would Bitcoin be valued at that, right? Because if you talk about next cycle Bitcoin trading at 500,000, I think that's conservative, right? I think we all believe that after the next halving cycle, Bitcoin during its bull market phase is going to be trading above 500,000. Is $1 million Bitcoin inevitable? It almost seems to people that understand Bitcoin that it's almost inevitable that 2 cycles from now we're going to be looking at $1 million of Bitcoin. So we'll see what happens over there. Maybe Maurice. Maybe is it just pump and hope? Is that only if you don't understand it? This is not like we just started talking about Bitcoin. If you go back to like the first day of this channel in late October of 2019, I started preparing everyone for the upcoming Bitcoin bull market cycle and spent a lot of work doing that. All right, what else are we looking at? 50K is cheap. That's right. All right, let's look over here. Let me come back down into real time. Let me just enjoy what's going on here this morning with you all. I feel like I have a good feel for what's going on. I feel like I have a great feel for what's going on. I like that. I think that Bitcoin highs will be lower this cycle than next, and I don't see diminishing returns daily evaluated. Well, that's all right. You should have your own opinion. It's great. It's great today to be able to watch people talk, explain their view, their thesis. It's great to be able to be a part of discussions and then make up your own mind and do that and invest accordingly. I know I do. I mean, that's what I do. Is I consider what I want to do, what I believe is the most intelligent investment to make and decision, and how to make that investment and decision. I mean, I play out every aspect of it, right? But then I put my money where my mouth is. That right? That's what I'm doing, right? So if you think different, of course do different. But if you're seeing at this point, if you're not seeing diminishing returns, we're currently trading above a combination of the first two cycles. So there's clearly no indication of diminishing returns. There's indication of increasing returns, though. Yeah, there is the indication of increasing returns, right? But you can't look at something that's white and be like it's black, because not everything is subjective. There's such a thing as and math is something that's objective, right? So where are we looking at? Ethereum, everyone's all over Ethereum. If you're not, go back and definitely look for where we were talking about Ethereum. Ethereum is just looking way more bullish at this point than Bitcoin over here, knocking on that resistance over there. We've checked out Ethereum Bitcoin, which has come back and tested that area of support. Looks like it's trying to resume off there. If Ethereum Bitcoin starts making higher highs, that looks to me like to be something that you should be considering. If that's the kind of trade you're looking at, that's conquering the markets all day long. So yeah, I don't think anyone should trade Chainlink for a Bitcoin unless they know what they're doing. Like, and if you're asking, then you don't know what you're doing. So then you should just have that more of that openness to learn attitude, which is really important. A lot of people in a rush to make money without yet really understanding how to do that, and that could be dangerous. So understand what you're doing, and if you don't understand yet, good to ask questions, but you should never ask anyone, should I buy gold? Should I buy silver? Should I buy Bitcoin? Should I buy Cardano here? If you don't know for yourself, then that's great. That is probably like self-knowledge, but what that should mean to you is that you really need to start focusing on learning more. Don't put a time frame on that. Don't feel like you're missing out. That's one of the quickest ways to lose money investing, is to think that you're missing out. And if you think that you're missing out, you're probably in a rush to lose money. That's the opposite of what you're here to accomplish. And I never heard of PLL. Yeah, so the question though has come up though about Tether, and it comes up often. So just let me mention it really quick. Um, when we're looking at Tether and how it could affect the Bitcoin market, first of all, like Tether FUD is nothing new at all, right? It's been around for a long time. Is it FUD? Well, there New York State has a case against Tether. Could that grow bigger? Could the SEC bring a case against Tether? Well, even if they did, what happens to Bitcoin? Right? Where does that money flow out of Tether? Where does it go to? Does it go to other stable coins? Probably. Would USDC be a big beneficiary? Probably. Would it go into Bitcoin? Probably. Is that bullish for Bitcoin? Yeah. But they, if you're getting into, they print money. They also burn Tether as dollars come out. They also burn Tether. So anyway, it's all FUD. It's all FUD. I'm just gonna check one random alt over here versus Bitcoin over here. This is their chain, and it's similar setup. This is like a double downward over here. But let me go ahead and just draw this in over here first. Over here, that's a very steep angle over there, and then I'm gonna draw another one over here. But so where does that go? It's a very steep angle. It's very steep. That's what I would be looking at though. And then do we have another one over here? Maybe if I was looking at VeChain though, as we came into that resistance, I would be wary. There's also horizontal resistance over there as well. Just throw that in for you over here. Where was that? Up here. Yeah. So just like there's Tether FUD, like the guy that lost all his Bitcoin on a hard drive in a garbage dump and is now going to dig it. Like that's just a story that's been seen so many times. Also, it's like they have this coordinated like stories that occur during the Bitcoin bull market, right? So again, you'll that's not going to be the last time you read about someone who left Bitcoin in a dumpster and not dumpster, a landfill, and is looking for it. It's just like these things are just over and over again. Here's the chart of VeChain in the comments over there if you want to look at that. Um, did I cover what Janet Yellen said about the dollar? I mean, no, I haven't. I don't even know what Janet Yellen said about the dollar. The last time that I considered Janet Yellen was when I remember Greenspan. I remember Greenspan, walking, up the steps with his briefcase, and they would look at how he's holding it. The maestro was there. What's he gonna do? As if it mattered, right? As if it mattered. It's all one big hand trick. Janet Yellen, when she said there'll never be another crisis in our lifetime, she lost me. She lost me. When she said there'll never be, the Fed chairman said there'll never be another crisis in our lifetime, she lost me because I knew that there would be another crisis in our lifetime, right? And there was. So she lost me. I don't listen to people who are wrong like that. I have zero. She's an academic, right? That's all she is. So, so she's meaningless, and what else? But what is signal when it comes to Janet Yellen? She's a big proponent of the Federal Reserve outright buying stocks. She's very vocal about that. And now that if she's inside here in the U.S. Treasury, it's like the Fed has a direct connection over to the U.S. Treasury. They speak the same language. They're on the same team. Right? The Federal Reserve, right? That's not part of the United States of America. The U.S. Treasury granted that corporation to be able to do that entity, right? You could be a shareholder of the Federal Reserve. The Fed Reserve, they pay the interest back to the United States government. Yeah, less 3%. 3% on trillions of dollars. You're talking about a lot of money. The shareholders of there are private, right? So they have contrary interest to that of the U.S. government. Now you have an insider from that institution, head of the U.S. Treasury. What do I think is going to happen? I think the Fed's going to be buying stocks. What do you think is going to happen? But I don't think that'll be to 2023, 2024, But that's what I think is going to happen. What's today? Like, mark this day. It's Martin Luther King Day, 2021. That's the day that you were told, right? Great advice over there, right? Never let taxes determine your investment decision. Oh, you're asking me tax advice? I'm not a tax advisor. I have no idea. I'm not an expert on that. I don't really want to talk about things where I don't know. I mean, so I would say to you, be aware that anytime you're moving from fiat to Bitcoin, that's not a taxable event. But if you're moving out of Bitcoin, whether it's into a stable coin, whether it's back into your bank account, or it's into another cryptocurrency, that's a taxable event, right? And how long, depending on where you live, how long you hold that. If you hold it for a year or more, you could be taxed at a lower tax rate, right? Capital gains right now, than just your normal tax rate. So just understand how you invest without understanding taxes. I mean, you can't do that. You have to, but you have to do your own research and figure that out. No, I don't have any thoughts on GME. I focus on what I believe to offer the best opportunity. They are mature markets. That's what I'm looking at over here. Yes, it is. Right? No, I don't know. There's a good question that whether or not you should be trading versus US dollars right now or versus Bitcoin. If you're trading versus Bitcoin, we're seeing, and we've looked at them, right? Whether it's Ethereum, Bitcoin just beginning here to break outside that trend line. You've seen it on Chainlink over here, just breaking out. We could see over here dot Bitcoin really breaking out, and there's lots of them that are occurring, right? So if you're on the right pair and you're taking the technical signal, and these are the leaders have broken out. Are you going to see like mid caps break out versus Bitcoin? Well, I think so as the speculation gets going, but we're not there yet. Now the people speculating right now, it's the smart money, it's the informed money, people that are really focused in on what's going on, and they're taking advantage here, getting into some really good positions. I mean, Alan's been outlining the case, for a while. Brandon has done a good job explaining why he likes to trade against Bitcoin right now over the dollar. If you're trading US dollar pairs versus these altcoins right now, the altcoins are stronger than the dollar. Not all altcoins. Again, you have to know which particular pair you're trading and what's happening technically that you want to trade against the dollar. But yeah, right now you'd make more money trading against the dollar on Ethereum than you have versus Bitcoin. So that's something to consider, right? Do you want to be trading versus the dollar or versus Bitcoin? I don't know why I don't. This is very popular. This is a very popular project over here, Theta. So let me look at it. I've never even looked at it. Let's take a look over here. I'm buying it. I take that back. I have looked at it over there as we can't. That's what a cup and handle over there. Okay. It's been a while, I should say. It's not familiar. I didn't know that I looked at it. But over here, you could see, look what's happening over here, and everyone knows exactly what this is. Looks very beautiful over here. The breakout of the trend line, the retest, now resuming off, right? You know where you could cap your risk, where you could get out of this trade if you're wrong, but you're seeing a bullish trend line break over here occurring on Theta. And the chart overall, very beautiful. Very beautiful. You can see after this big move up, all this consolidation happening. It's very bullish. It looks good, right? Let's see if we add that in over here. Yeah, XRP is just, it continues to be dangerous, right? Is EOS a good opportunity? So I'm not going to look at EOS. I'm not going to look at XRP. I've done a fantastic job in 2020, really sounding that alarm about XRP, making sure just as everyone was positioned, or when I say making sure, doing my best to educate you to be able to come to some type of decision of what you feel is the best decision to make, right? I am not an investment advisor. I am not telling you what to buy and sell, nor ever. I'm just giving my analysis of what helps me. It really tends to help other people as one of the many voices to listen to on the internet to help them make their decisions. So EOS, though, so XRP was something that I really just, was very, very helpful in people understanding what was happening. EOS is another, right? EOS is, Max Kaiser put it best. It was just one really big Bitcoin heist. And they're one of the largest owners of Bitcoin, are they not right now? Interesting, right? But as far as what's going on the EOS chain, I believe a lot that was going to be built on EOS trade, I'm not sure about, even from Block One themselves, is being built on top of Ethereum. So that really tells you everything, right? That they're not using their own chain. How do I join the other group? So look, everything we do here is absolutely free. Monday through Friday, we're live streaming every day at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. I also put out afternoon updates, and that is obviously to help everyone. I believe that it is very, very, all very valuable information. There's also the Conquering the Markets course. There's a link in the description below. It's absolutely the best thing going on, and people, it's a really beautiful place. It's just a little bit more deeper than what we do here together. There's a Conquering the Markets private Telegram chat. I just built out the Discord. We haven't made the jump over to Discord. The advantage of Discord is that there's different rooms. Like there's one just for Forex, there's one just for stocks, there's one just for Bitcoin, and there's one just for Ethereum, and there's another for crypto. So it's easier to keep track of those discussions. But it also includes, obviously, full access to all of the training, not only material, but also weekly. We do live training sessions together, and it has all of those available to you as well. It's a beautiful thing. Iron sharpens iron. Absolutely. It does feel like, Alan, a Friday session because we got this holiday over here, this Monday holiday, and that's what we're vibing off of going over here, Dr. Martin Luther King Day. We almost made it to 1,000 likes. When you first said it, I didn't believe it. I think that this definitely warrants 1,000 likes. Hopefully, by the end of the day, that we've gotten this up to 1,000 likes, and a lot of people might be sleeping in today, watching this later. It is. I mean, listen. That's the hard part about it. It is cost next to nothing, uh, but the value is absolutely. I believe. Yeah, again, I've had someone take a $15,000 course, and then stop that course once they discover myself, my material, and my course. Right. So that says it all. Thank you very much. And not only that, just a big shout out to Wes, George, Cameron, and Stefano. Everyone helping with the moderation here in these comments because these spammers are ruthless. I spent I don't know about other channels. Someone was saying, "Oh, this channel doesn't get any spam." No, we go to great lengths to keep it a clean place, and that's a reflection of what we think of this environment and this community itself. And that's not easy. It takes a lot of work. Just be careful. I'll never share a phone number with you. I'll never solicit you for, if I have something to say to you, I'm going to say it to you over here in video on a live stream or on an updated video. So what else we got going on over here? Let me take a look at what's going on. Bitcoin over here, maintaining just like, right? Just consolidating. It's how nice to be able to look at Bitcoin or anything and understand what's happening. Like how amazing. Like is it the right time to buy Bitcoin? Well, you just look at the chart, see what's going on technically, and you know where from a risk reward perspective, where's a good place to lean into. If you're wrong, where you're wrong and to get out, how much you're risking doing that, and what you're looking at potentially. It's like you have all of the instruments around you and you have that awareness of what you're looking at, why, how to do it, how to, I mean, most people when they look at a market, they don't have they don't have that awareness whatsoever. You have people invested in the public markets and all these different stocks, thinking first of all that they own the stock, but that's another thing. But they're investing in this paper, and they have no idea. They're just like, oh, Cisco, oh, I'm gonna buy Cisco, right? And right now, like everyone's watching Tesla continuing to moon over here, and like everyone's like, oh, let me jump in Tesla because it's making my neighbor rich, right? But you have to understand what you're investing in, why. By the way, Tesla continues into that resistance over here, putting up a bull flag consolidation. Equity markets, I'm mildly cautious about, and it's not often that I get that way. But let's watch what happens over here as, first of all, once the $1.9 trillion stimulus package was floated, I've been saying it. It set the market up here in a bad way, I think. We'll see. Why I say that is because the market's now set up for disappointment. Because if a lower package comes in, the market's not going to like that. And then once we start talking about how we're going to pay for that through taxes, the market's not going to like that again. So I was talking about, yeah, we could see, if we saw a 9% correction, then the equity markets might become a little bit attractive for me. And in the comments, people are like, a 9% correction, you're crazy. People are always fighting with me. It's so weird. And I mean, not obviously most people are not, but there are people that are always fighting. If you look back here on the S&P 500, this is the E-mini. Going back since the last time the Fed started QE in 2008, when all this madness started over here, you could see there are numerous, and this is not all of them, this is a rough sketch. There are numerous pullbacks, 8% or more over here, right? Like all the time and so many. So, right now, we've been going up for a while without any type of retrace. Do I think that it would make sense to see at least an 8 or 9%? I wouldn't even look at the equity markets before that happened. I wouldn't even look at them before that happened. So that's where we are right now, and it will come. Thank you, brother. Thanks, Maxim. Thank you so much. Right. Listen, I don't. So anyway, I don't. I'm probably one of the least biased persons. The least biased for sure. You know, and if I there's certain things Max says that I'm like, yeah, 100%, he's totally right. Raul Pal, there are certain things that he says, and I'm like, yeah, wow. Did you see how he articulated that? Is it the British accent, right, Greg? Is it the British accent, or like is what he's saying something that I want to hear and understand? And then there are other things, right? When you basically promote a security to people without and this being like ignorance. Well, I don't know if it's a good or bad investment. I don't know. I haven't taken the time to look at it. Right? Yeah, you have. Everyone has. Everyone knew that the company Ripple was selling XRP to fund their operations. So what else? What else? Why does Jordan name drop from the beginning to the end? Scott's wondering. Someone else could help him out. I don't have the time to help them out about why I name drop. What is name dropping? Name dropping to me, Scott, would suggest if name dropping is in your vocabulary, that would suggest to me that you care about what other people think. I don't care what other people think. I don't care what anyone else thinks, and everyone knows that. So that's why I have no problem if something or someone is out there having people on the wrong side. I have no problem dropping their name at all. But anyway, I don't know. Weird that you think that. Thanks, Joseph. Definitely appreciated sharing this one with you. We're on for about a little over an hour, our normal session over here. I feel very strongly the beginning of the session, absolute fire going over the charts. But I thought we were going to make it to 1,000 likes. We didn't do it. I'm going to go out with some music over here and just say thank you to all of you for spending the time here this morning. Going over, if you didn't see the video over here that I just uploaded to the channel, Price Discovery on Bitcoin, probably a great video to watch right now as we get off. I think it adds to the Bitcoin playlist perfectly. And if you're not familiar with what's going on in Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, do watch that. This alt season video that was posted on Saturday, also an excellent video if you're wondering what's going on here, building off of what I shared today regarding the altcoins and what's going on. I hope everyone enjoys the day. It is Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday and in the US, and he was a civil rights leader, someone really who had a dream of change, and he worked towards building that dream. It starts with the people around you, right? Name dropping? No. Every person has great dignity. Every person has great. By the way, the poor among us have the greatest dignity because they most resemble the Lord. Remember that. So anyway, everyone, have a beautiful day. I'll see you all this afternoon, maybe, and maybe not. We'll see what happens. If there's something worth sharing, I'll definitely share it. Otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow morning. Pure Vita. I knew I left something out. Pure Vita, thank you so much for helping every day. Huge asset. Thank you for helping. Really grateful to you. Everyone have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you soon.